Thank you for joining the Unexpected Detour. My name is Frances Hammond. I am your host, and here we talk about Unexpected Detour. Today I have Steven Lewis. Yes, the incomparable Steven Lewis, who I consider my nephew, who is always coaching me about Aunt Fran, you got to get content creator and everything. Me, I am finally getting the picture, so I have him here. What I like about him is that he is an encourager. He always helps people, always. There's nothing that he wouldn't do about helping others. He is a father, a husband, 3 children, one Jackson, Thea, and the beautiful, incomparable Sloan. So take it over, Steven, and tell us about you, how you came from corporate America to becoming this awesome entrepreneur.
Oh, well, first and foremost, I'm honored to be on the Unexpected Detour. It's been a long time coming, right?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we're finally here. So yeah, that was a great introduction too, by the way. So so Steven Lewis is my name. That's the name that my mom and my daddy gave me. I am a junior or the second, however it is that you want to dice it. Yes, I am a husband. I am a father. I am currently a full-time entrepreneur, content creator, coach, and consultant. And I go by Pop the Creative on all social media platforms. Pop is my nickname. I don't know if we're going to get a chance to get into that, but nonetheless, everybody calls me Pop. Y'all watching, y'all are family, so y'all can call me Pop too, right? So, yes, so I was in corporate for 15 years and great company, loved it there. I grew up there. I started when I was like 21, got married when I was there, had all my children when I was there. So great people that I was like Aunt Fran, and I've been blessed to be able to do life with for that long. And you know what happened for me is that at some point in time, I felt God was calling me to something greater. And not to say that where I wasn't good. It was most certainly good. But what I did know is that I was not supposed to be there long term, right? And so what ended up happening is that I got my corporate job, and it provided for me. It provided for my family. It did everything that we needed, and we were able to get things and have the things that we needed in order to have security within the family, which is a beautiful thing. But what ended up happening, what was supposed to just kind of be a transition when I first started, ended up becoming something that I was tied to, right? Because, I got married, and then, expenses, we bought a house, and expenses, and, these expenses, and then children and those expenses. So, and then we need health insurance and all of these things. So what ended up happening was that the very thing that was really only supposed to be for a season ended up becoming something that I was permanently in. And it's almost like, think about if, us being in New York, we experience all 4 seasons, right? So imagine you being stuck in winter for all year round, right? What ends up happening is that if you're stuck in that particular season, then there's certain things that have to grow in other seasons that die or don't get a chance to be exposed or even come to fruition because you're stuck in one season. And so it got to a point where I said, God, you know what? You've been talking to me over the years, and I've been excusing away, kind of transitioning into this creative space that I've been kind of connected to since I was a kid. And so opportunities were beginning to present itself and everything like that. And I remember saying to myself, Aunt Fran, I remember praying, I said, God, you've been talking to me about this for years. My biggest fear is that I ignore and explain it away to the point where I don't hear from you anymore, or the opportunities that you had in store for me because I refused to be obedient, I missed out on. And those opportunities potentially never coming back my way because I got to feed my family. You know what I'm saying? And I have legitimate excuses, but excuses nonetheless. And so in December of 2020, was it 20? We're in 2024. So
It's been 3 years, Steven. You've been going for 3 years.
Yeah. So December 2021.
I miss you behind me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. right? And so so December 2021, pandemic. And, we went through the whole pandemic. And as we were going through the pandemic, I started to see my following grow. I started to see, started making a lot of relationships with people in the entrepreneurial space, particularly digitally on social media. And a lot of opportunities started to kind of unlock. And I said, okay, God, is it time now? And there was trepidation, because oftentimes when you're transitioning into something new, it's never smooth. There's always going to be some roadblocks. There's always going to be some friction. There's always going to be some patches where you're like, well, is this, could this work, or could this not? But what I say, that there was a piece that came along with it, that, okay, this is the time for you to go ahead and transition into what I have called you to do. It wasn't necessarily a piece that said, I got it all figured out. And I know as soon as I quit, as soon as I walk away, that this is going to be, everything is going to manifest itself, and everything, I'm going to get kind of money, and I'm going to be able to do this and do that. That it wasn't a piece like that. It was just a piece that, me making this decision, God was pleased with it, and God was going to take care of me, right? So however it is, whatever detour he took me to ultimately where he's trying to take me, I was willing to surrender to that flow. I was willing to surrender to that, to his direction, his guidance, his leadership. And so I took the leap, and I left the company.
Yeah, you remember I told you, I said, Steven, I hope your plan B works out for you. And look.
Yeah, I mean, and it's working out. I can't say that it's been all a bed of roses, right? Because when you're leaving corporate, some of the things that I would say and what I've learned in my process is, number one, you have to have some sort of a plan, right? You have to have some sort of a plan. And oftentimes, what I failed to realize, but in my meditation, it really kind of came clear, was the fact that the reason why God started talking to me years ago was so this way I could start preparing for when it was time for me to actually make the exit, right? And so it was a preparation time that I had to go through in order for me to even get to the place where I was able to leave, right? And once you leave there, we got paid every 2 weeks. So, that's something that you get used to. You get healthcare. This is something that you get used to. Now, when you become an entrepreneur, it's kill or be killed, right? Meaning you either you hunt or you don't eat, right? You have to now go after clients. You have to go after customers. You have to learn marketing. You have to, especially as a solopreneur first starting out, you have to do your content. You have to reach out to people. You have to make connections. You have to go to events. You have to do all of these things, and that may be out of your comfort zone, for you to be able to make the necessary connections and hook yourself on the right and attach yourself to the right people in the right environments that can help you begin to kind of grow personally as far as self-development, but also be able to then translate that into your business, so you can begin to start making revenue. And so when I first left the company, I had some other things lined up. And I mean, a couple months after that, those things totally dried up. Totally. Right. So now I'm like, yo, hold on. What in the world? I say, hold on, God, you said, right? You said that you was going to take care of me and all this, but all of these things that I was now depending on are dried up.
Yeah.
So what's up now? Like, I mean, I got a family to feed. Like, I still got responsibilities. And what God revealed to me was, that's the problem. You're depending on those things, and you're not depending on me, right?
That's deep.
This the same way that you were depending on that job for 15 years to take care of you and the family, right? And that made you nullify what I was telling you to do creatively, right? That pacified you for that time. What you're looking to do is try to get into the same position where you can at least feel as if you're comfortable. And what I realized through this whole process, our friend, is that God intentionally, I had to go through this process of being uncomfortable, because that was the only way that God was going to wake me up and get me back on my feet. Because what I realized, for 15 years, I was on autopilot, right? So imagine now having to be jolted into reality to know that, hold on, that's not the smooth sailing, the cruise control that I was on. That's no longer in existence. I no longer have that safety net. So now
Wow.
that literally forced me now to look at my reality, and begin to make the necessary adjustments in real time to be able to now put myself in the position to be able to not just grow my brand, but now also to grow my business, because I got people that are depending on me. And so
Yes.
what I would say to people who are going to be transferring into from corporate to entrepreneurship, you have to have an exit strategy, right? So I don't care what you hear these gurus talking about. Just jump off the ledge and you'll eventually your parachute is going to open up and you'll be smooth sailing. Nope, that's not how it works. Make sure you have an exit strategy. Meaning, if this is something that you think that you want to do, right? If you think you want to cross over into entrepreneurship, there are certain things that you need to make sure that you start to set up. You want to, of course, make sure that you start your business. You start your LLC. Make sure that you're filing everything correctly. What you also want to start to do is you also want to start to make sure that you're focusing and building out a business plan. You want to know, it doesn't have to be super deep, but at least know what you're going to be doing and how that thing is going to help you make money, and even try to put some numbers to it. So then this way you can know that, okay, if I'm going to be selling this product for $100, I need X amount of sales per month, per week, whatever, per day, in order for me to be able to have this much money at the end of the month. These are my expenses, but this is going to help me to be able to continue to feed my business by investing into your business, right? But also have some money for me to be able to take care of the things that I need to take care of as well.
Well,
So go ahead.
this is why I wanted you on here, because you're so smart. No, let me stop.
Yeah.
Now I'm reading this book. It's like 44 minutes. It's called One Word. And it tells you to find this one word. And I'm always procrastinating about I gotta give people, Steven, I gotta give people. So I stepped out of my comfort zone and I said, you know what? I'm gonna pick up my phone and I'm gonna ask people to be on my podcast. If they say no, I'll just keep moving,
Yeah,
because you always ask me, do you really want this podcast or not? And
that's a
my
fact.
son says the same thing. Do you really enjoy doing what you're doing? Yes. He said, well, then you got to make it work for you.
That's right.
So that's what made me pick up the phone, that book called One Word. It'd be good for the kids too.
Okay.
One word, and it's like a real short book, and you pick one word for the year and you
Yes.
focus on that one word. And that's what it was. And that book is what helped me to say, I gotta step out of my comfort zone here.
I like it. That's
Yeah.
listen. And so it's funny that you say that. My one word for this year is stewardship.
Oh,
Is
see?
stewardship. And that is because a lot of things are now, and let me get there. Let me get to why I got the stewardship. Because we talked about exit strategies, right? And we're talking about building out your plan. So having a realistic view on your finances. So you should know how much it costs for you to live on a monthly basis. And so that's going to also help you to be able to know what kind of services to provide and how you're going to price your services, and kind of know, who you're going to be selling it to, and how, and all of these things begin to, and once you have accumulated that information, then you can begin to start creating your marketing. So this is how I'm going to sell to them, right? If you do cupcakes, there's farmers markets, there's different people who host events who are always looking for vendors, right? So these are all different types of places that you can go to get your name out there, but also allow people to test your product, right? To see if there's actually a need for it in the marketplace. But you're
Right.
doing that while you're still getting your paycheck and you're still getting your benefits. You know what I'm saying?
And that's
And
why I'm
then
still there, huh?
right, and then
I gotta make this grow before
and you
I
got to make
can yeah.
That's right. So you're getting paid for your passion, and then what you can do is you begin to put that money away. So once you know roughly what your expenses is, on a monthly basis, try to, as much as you can, start to kind of put that money away. So then this way you can stack up some money to have a nice runway, right? Because you're going to need a runway. You know what I mean? Some people say 6 months, a year, whatever. It really depends on your budget and how it is but you want to make sure that you have a runway. So then this way, when you transition, you're not in a position where you're now anxious because you have to now make money in order to be able to survive, or everything's going to fall apart around you, right? So those would be the things that I would say that you would want to start with. And then once you transition, now you're transitioning out of corporate with a plan, with money saved, right? And a marketing strategy and a business plan as to how it is that you're going to go about getting this money. Now, is that going to change? Absolutely. But you do have, is that going to be a change and be adjusted and everything like that? Is everything going to go smoothly? Absolutely not. But that's why you start out with a plan, and at least you have a runway, so it'll give you some wiggle room to make those adjustments. Okay. Now, I didn't have that when I went out of.
We know.
That's why I'm heavily suggesting it, because I didn't have that when I made the transition. Right. It was a little different for me. I'm a hard-headed type of dude. I have to feel it in order for it to be real, in order for me to take action. Right.
Yes.
So
let's tell the story about. I'll never forget. Steven used to do these videos, and one day he got locked on the roof.
Yes.
Up there doing videos. That's how he really started. He would do these little motivational videos for the day. Yep. And one day he went on the roof and he couldn't get back.
Yeah, I couldn't get. So talk about having a plan, right? Talking about working towards your dream. So what I would do is every single day on my lunch break, we had an hour lunch break. I saved my money and I invested in a camera, right? I was using my phone, but I invested in an actual camera, high quality camera that was small enough for me to be able to, carry around with me. So up on our building, we had a rooftop, right? That had tables and stuff out there that you could sit down and have lunch outdoors if you wanted to, right? So I'm up there and I'm recording my videos. I always try to get at least 2 to 3 videos, because I was posting like once, twice. No, I was at one point posting almost 2-3 times a day on social media. So recorded those videos. I was feeling good about myself. What I didn't realize is that the door didn't have a handle. And it locked from the inside. So the door didn't have a handle on it. You know what I'm saying? And so I finished my videos. I walk towards the door and I'm like, where's the handle? So I'm trying to stick my fingers in between the door, the crack of the door, to try to pull the door open. And none of that is working. So I'm like, yo, I'm stuck up here. Thank God I had my phone, that I was able to call somebody to come upstairs and come get me,
and because she wouldn't let you in.
And she wouldn't let me in. So I'm up on the doggers because they thought it was a joke. They thought it was a joke that I was up there, and of course I was a laughing stock for a couple of days. But sometimes you got to look foolish for your dream. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to look foolish for your dream. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes you're gonna find yourself in situations following your dream, and you like, yo, what in the world is going on? How did I get myself in this position, right? But thank God I lived to tell about it. But that was fun.
As I was writing about this, I included that in there about how you got locked up on there.
I did. I got locked up. I got locked up on there, trying to chasing after the dream. And so what I was doing even with the videos, I was recording every single day. I was recording at least 3 to 4 videos every single day. I was posting every single day.
But I knew you were going to leave.
Yeah, you did?
After you wrote that book. Remember the book about your sons?
Yes.
Yes. And you were always so quiet. You would sit there quietly working. Mm-hmm. Like the professor, I call him. The professor was quietly at work. And I remember we used to listen to Pastor Mike. Yes. And he used to always say, you do things in the dark. You never let people know what is really going on. You work in the dark and you build on your dream. And you actually were doing that. As I was sitting there teasing you, you were working. But then in the interim, I'm asking you about my blog and my podcast, remember? Because you were there. Yeah. And I thank you for being there, because you were like the stronghold when I told you I had cancer. Yeah. I will never forget that. You gave me a hug and it really touched my heart. But Steven, I want you to tell them about your book, because I see you have a book there.
I do.
The Clarity Lounge.
So this book is called Ready, Set, Plan, Then Post. So this book is coming out March 6th on Sloan's birthday. So I'm actually posting a pre-order, and so you'll be able to pre-order it. We're rolling it out on at the beginning of next week. Matter of fact, so this podcast is perfect timing. But this workbook is for content creators. So if you don't consider yourself a creative person, if you don't consider yourself a content creator, and creating content on social media in the digital space and building a business on these digital platforms, like we don't have phone books no more, right? So getting on social media is imperative if you're trying to grow a business in this digital world, and it could be overwhelming for you. You may
and it could be for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm always trying to figure out what can I do next. And you sent me something that I use where it'll show you the words.
Yes.
And those videos that I posted, those are the ones that get a lot of likes.
Shout out.
So I thank you for that. Yes.
Absolutely.
Opus.
Opus is a major, and shout out to Opus because I have a partnership with them now. I've been doing some content for them. So
and commercials.
So commercials for them. So the thing about it is that I want you to. The reason why I wrote this book, myself and my partner Jessica, the reason why we co-authored this book is because we don't want you to be in the dark anymore, and we think that information needs to be given. So then this way people can begin the transformation that they desire, right? Your desire might not necessarily be to leave corporate to go into entrepreneurship. But what I will tell you is that one stream of income is way too close to none, right? And we've seen all of this stuff happening all around the world when you have these big major companies shutting down, closing their doors after 30, 40 years plus of business, right? So what this digital landscape has helped us to do is given us an opportunity to spread our wings, right? So you don't have to solely depend on your corporate. You can also have a side gig and create your own digital footprint that helps you to be able to connect with an audience and start to build some additional streams of income. But you have to do it through content, right? You have to have valuable content. You have to have content that works, that your audience likes, that allows you to build that know, like, and trust that we talk about. But in this book, we're helping you with your mindset, because you can't do nothing without the proper mindset. So we're teaching you how to create what we call a creator's growth mindset that helps you to maximize your potential with your content creation. We're also helping you craft your brand message, right? A lot of people out here just talking a whole bunch of stuff on social media with no cohesion. And what that's doing is that's confusing not just themselves, but it's also confusing people who are looking from the outside looking in, because they don't know what you about. So people are not going to buy from you. My mentor says that a confused mind always says no. So if you have a podcast, if you have a blog, if you have, really good product or service, if you're confusing the people, they're not going to say yes to your product. They're not going to say yes to your service. So you're missing out on an opportunity to help someone who really needs your help, but also to get that money, right? So we're helping you craft your brand message. Also strategically planning your content. You have to have a strategy. We talked about an exit strategy for leaving corporate, going into entrepreneurship. You also have to have a strategy when it comes to creating your content. And also we teach you how to build your audience and become a confident and consistent content creator. And we're showing you how to use AI to maximize your workflow, right? So all of this is in this book. So you can hit me up. You can go to Pop the Creative. We're also right now. I have a free mindset quiz that you can take. So you can go to my DM. You can even go to my website, and I'll give you all of the links. You can go to my website at popthecreative.com, and you
want to put them in the chat.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. So when you post this,
send it to me so I could put it up there.
Put it in. So my website is popthecreative.com. You can also follow me on Instagram. Is really my hub where I'm at the most, and that's Pop the Creative as well.
He drinks unbelievable Starbucks coffee.
Oh yeah. Amongst other things. That's a whole nother story, though. That's a whole other story.
It's just bringing me back to those days with the Starbucks. Okay.
Yes. So
we had a good time.
We did have a good time.
Yeah.
We have a good time. So so I thank you again. Listen, I loved them. Let me get it. Let me just make sure we understand. I loved my time in corporate. It wasn't that I didn't like it, right? It wasn't that I was in a bad environment. I don't have any horror stories, really. I loved every single person. I love you. I love every single person that I got a chance to work with for the 15 years that I was there. I love to, after you all
the
became
fun stories and
all the fun stories.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved my experience. So it wasn't that I left because of something bad. I left because it was my time. It was my time to transition.
And God said so.
God said so. So my season there had changed, had ended, and it was time for me to transition into a new season. So if you feel led, if God is leading you, if you feel led to transition, it's important that first of all that you acknowledge that leading, right? And begin to make the necessary adjustments and put the necessary plan in place to make sure that you can transition as smoothly as you possibly can. You may be able to transition smoothly, you may not. But the reality is that once you get that call, once you get that leading, for you to start to get to work. Don't put it off like I did for years. Don't put it off. Don't kind of excuse it away. Sit in it and say, okay, now that I've gotten this leading, now that I've gotten this calling, okay, God, how is it that you want me to start to build this thing out so I can go ahead and transition to the season that you're taking me in? And I promise you, as long as you do that, you're going to have a peace that surpasses all understanding. And that doesn't mean that everything is going to happen perfectly and everything is going to line up perfectly. But what it is that you're confident in the God that has called you to it. So you know he's going to take care of everything.
Yeah, and I thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
And you got to tell them about the Clarity Lounge before we go.
So Clarity Lounge is a show that I do. I have guests on from all different industries. We talk content creation, we talk real estate, we talk credit repair, you name it. We talk about all of it. And the whole idea behind Clarity Lounge is for you as the audience to get clear on a particular subject. So I'm bringing in experts you might be confused when it comes to content creation, or confused when it comes to, well, how do I start in real estate, or how would I start to actually clean up my credit? How do I do Airbnb? So I'm bringing on experts that actually give you the step-by-step play on what they did starting to get to where it is that they are. So if there's anything that you may be unclear about, because lack of clarity leads you to be paralyzed in a particular area, right? So it's not necessarily that you're not skilled and that you can't do it, but if you're not clear about how to do it, then that's what kills the dream, or that's what kills your momentum out the gate. So I'm bringing on these experts to make sure that you are so totally clear, so you can be confident in moving into these different areas of your giftings, so you can be profitable and you can be influential and profitable at the same time.
Okay, well, that is it for this episode of the Unexpected Detour. And I thank my special guest, nephew, Steven Lewis.
Mwah.
I love you. And
love you.
We will talk soon.
All right.
All right. Okay.
See y'all later.
All righty. Bye.